It's time for the Fort Mill Magazine podcast.
It is August 22nd, 2012. I'm Tracy Roman.
And I'm Emily Wyatt.
We're so glad to have you guys with us today. We've got an exciting program, but first we're going to talk about our sponsors today.
Yes.
And that's India Hook Dental Care. They are located at 1144 India Hook Road, Suite E as in Edward, and that is in Rock Hill. And their phone number is 803-324-7640.
And they're super nice. We went there a couple days ago, I guess, and I met them all, and they're really cool.
Yes,
Cool people.
we love them there, and they're growing.
Yeah.
They have added on, a new doctor last year, and now they've added on a fourth doctor. So there's Dr. Anderson, who happens to be the only man. And then there's Dr. Hauk and Dr. Smith, and then the new doctor is Dr. Johnson. So there's four doctors there, and then I don't know how many of the rest of the staff is. It seems like it's like 30 to me.
That's what I was thinking, 30.
Right?
Yeah.
A lot of women,
Yeah.
but great women. Yep.
Pretty cool.
So we're really excited to have India Hook Dental Care as our sponsor for this here podcast.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. So what's happening with you?
Well, I was in the shower this morning, and I was
Good.
doing my showering thing,
Right.
and my boyfriend was in the shower before that when he was getting ready to go to school, and he had a mirror because he was shaving, and he
Right.
left it in there, and the mirror slipped and fell on my ankle, and I really thought I was going to pass out in the shower. I had to, talk to myself.
Ow.
Yeah, I had to be like, all right, it's going to be okay.
One of those mirrors with the suction cup things?
No, it's one of those mirrors you're supposed to keep it on your vanity, and but it's portable. It's really small, so he just takes it back and forth because he would rather shave in the shower. So
Were you cussing?
Hmm?
Were you cussing?
I was just trying to not, because I had that tunnel vision, the weird black around the, and I was like, all right, I just need to turn off the water, and I need to get out so I don't slip and fall, and I just need to
Right.
sit. And then I was thinking, God, what if I broke my ankle? And now my phone's downstairs. If only my dog knew how to go get the phone.
Katie the dog.
Right.
You needed Katie the dog.
She does not. But it seems fine. I mean, it hurts to touch, but it seems fine now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you are wound up this morning.
Yeah.
And you've got this other thing that you're doing.
Yeah, the reason why
which
my
is
phone
affecting us all here.
the reason why my phone was downstairs was because I was working out this morning before I came in. So, yeah, I worked out. I got up at 6:40 and
That's
I worked
crazy.
out for an hour. And then I had a delicious breakfast, though.
Right.
Because this diet, you're kind of restricted. It's the paleo science
Emily's
diet.
on a diet.
Yeah. I don't think I'm obese. I don't think I'm overweight. I'm just trying to get back in shape for this
Right.
vacation we're going on. So
Yeah.
before we get
You definitely don't look
angry
like you need to be on a diet.
listeners, I don't think that I'm fat or overweight.
No, because you're not.
I just want to eat healthier
Right.
and look healthier.
Yeah, so it's affecting all of us here. You're nibbling on carrots, crunching on carrots and a variety of nuts
Yeah.
throughout the day. You eat a lot now.
Every 2 hours.
Yeah.
So, and I eat, it says to take at least 20 minutes to eat so you feel fuller.
Right.
So I feel like
Well-
I'm eating pretty much every hour.
It's rubbing off on me. I don't know that I've, adopted this paleo diet. The part that really intrigued me was the part about you can eat bacon,
Yeah.
because bacon is like a separate food group for me.
Well, I looked for Canadian bacon in the store last night and I couldn't find any because we made Brinner. I made pancakes last night, breakfast and dinner, Brinner. I made pancakes last night out of bananas and almond butter. I liked it. Keith didn't say, my Keith boyfriend didn't like it.
No,
Because he didn't like
he
all
wasn't digging
the
it.
I couldn't chop it up, the bananas enough. So it was very banana-y, but I
Right.
like banana pancakes.
Yeah, I do too.
And he, I guess, isn't
He
a big
wasn't
fan.
digging it.
So, and then we had turkey sausage because I couldn't find Canadian bacon.
Right. That's because somebody else who's on the paleo diet has bought it all up.
The one other person in Fort Mill.
Yeah. But yeah, no. Canadian bacon isn't quite the same as
Yeah.
regular
No.
bacon, though.
That's not
But it's all
allowed.
good. Like, I'll eat any kind of bacon. Turkey
Yeah.
bacon, beef bacon, Canadian bacon, bacon. I just don't eat dog bacon, okay?
No,
but,
that's pretty gross.
Yeah. Yeah, but bacon is its own food group.
Yeah.
I've even had chocolate bacon.
What?
Yeah.
No.
It's very good. No, it is. It's good.
Huh.
Yeah. You can actually get it at World Market.
That's definitely not on the paleo science diet.
No, probably
No.
not. They should add it, though.
They should.
We need to write a letter. The thing that I want to talk about is, we're getting very close to wrapping up the fall issue, and one of the things that we worked on yesterday was ghost tales. And I was thinking about like other creepy things, because this has been in the works for like 2 years now, trying to get
Ghost
good
stories.
ghost stories. And I think it's because somebody sent out a memo and said, "Don't tell Fort Mill Magazine any of your creepy ghost tales."
It really doesn't. It doesn't seem like. I mean, people just seem very withdrawn. Isn't the right word, because
Right.
it's not like we go up to them and they're like, "Oh, we don't talk about it," but they just
Right.
say like nothing has happened, which I find really hard to believe.
I do too. It's a conspiracy.
I think it is.
Yeah. But anyway, I've got a little creepy tale. And it's like a family thing,
Right.
Louis, my husband, and Anna, our teenage daughter. In the evening, we chat about this because a lot of times, we have to run back and forth to pick her up from dance class. And we're over on the Dobie Bridge side.
Right.
So there's a lot of times when we're out, after dark driving. And my husband says that he has seen Chupacabra. Have you heard of the Chupacabra?
Yeah. It's like a
Okay.
hairless dog coyote,
Right.
blood
Yeah.
sucking.
And there's like this, thing like, is it real?
yeah, kind of
you
like
know?
Bigfoot.
Because Chupacabra means goat sucker. Basically, it's an animal that sucks the blood of a goat.
I can't say goat sucker without laughing.
Yeah, that's a little strange. But yeah, and there's been sightings all over.
Huh.
And they've even had, found carcasses of the supposed Chupacabra in Texas. And apparently, when they tested it or whatever, they said that they think it was just a coyote that had really bad mange.
That's really disappointing.
Poor thing. Yeah.
What do you mean they think? Like, if they did a DNA test on a coyote, wouldn't
Right.
it come up as coyote DNA? Wouldn't it be kind of a
Well,
more definitive thing?
I would think so, but
Maybe I
there's
watch
so
CSI
many
too much.
strange sightings, and I think there was a little. It wasn't like an exact coyote because it had fangs. It had very large.
Because it sucks blood. I mean, you obviously need fangs in order
Well,
to.
yeah, that's the story anyway, and
Right.
it's like it's not just like sucking the blood of goats, but now it's chickens and cows and all this stuff,
Well, as
right?
long as it's not people.
Right. No,
guess.
yeah, no threat to people. But Lewis says that he has seen Chupacabra 3 times so far.
Huh.
Yeah. But, Anna's been in the car with him when he
And
sees...
she didn't see it?
No. And then she gets really mad at him. She's like, why didn't you tell me to look? Like, there's a delay. And he's
So what? Like, he sees it.
because
and
I
then
was
just,
trying to focus. He goes, I was trying to focus on what I was seeing. Because it supposedly looks kind of like a dog
Right.
cross with a deer because it's got like a really long snout.
Yeah.
So he says, I couldn't tell you right away because I was still trying to figure out what I was looking at. But he's seen it 3 times now, crossing Dobie's Bridge, and now there's another person who's come forward and corroborated his story.
Huh.
Yeah. But my thing is, it's a gentleman,
Right.
a fellow fan of Fort Mill Magazine,
Right.
and they were talking amongst themselves,
Right.
and he said that he saw it too.
How does that come up in conversation?
I don't know. It's a man thing. I really think it is. But anyway, the wife, she said that she was in the truck with him. She didn't see the Chupacabra.
I think they're saying things.
So I want to know if we have any listeners who have seen the Fort Mill Chupacabra. I've also, somebody on Facebook said they saw it in Tega. I'm sure it's not the same one because that's a quite a trek.
That is quite a trek.
Yeah. But I'm just
It's
wondering
like
if
a
any
family of
females.
chupacabras running around.
Yeah, I don't know. But I'm wondering if there's any females that have seen the Chupacabra.
Yeah.
And
Let's
the
go.
other thing is how it's, like in our house,
Yeah.
like we don't just say chupacabra. We say chupacabra. It's got to be like Anna Faris from House Bunny.
Yeah.
You know, in House Bunny, whenever she meets somebody new and they introduce themselves, like, you know, my name is Michelle. She goes, Michelle. You know, this little creepy voice that she does. Well, that's how it is here in our house. Whenever we're talking about, you can't just say chupacabra. You got to say chupacabra. You got to use your creepy voice. But I thought that was a little interesting thing.
That is interesting.
About Fort Mill.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, we need somebody to come forward and preferably a female.
Right.
Is there a female out there
Right.
who can corroborate that they have seen the chupacabra?
If I'm still stuck on the Lewis not saying anything to Anna thing because
Not until after.
Right, because when
Yeah.
I see something crossing the road, I'm like, oh, hey, look, there's a chupacabra crossing the road.
Right.
But he just saw it, and like 5 minutes later, he was like, hey, did you see that chupacabra like 15 minutes ago?
there was definitely a delay. Yeah. Yeah, he said it was
Who
because
does
he was
that?
stunned. He was trying to, you know.
He was stunned.
This was something, it was like
the
one of
powers
those
of the
things
chupacabra.
where, you know, you can see something cross the road, like a bunny cross the road.
Right.
Like, even if it's fast, you can register that's a bunny.
Right.
Well, he says it was one of those things where it went by, and he's still like, what the heck was that?
So for like 5 minutes, he was just
Yeah, for like 5
indexing
minutes.
animals that it could have been.
Yeah. And then there was the, oh, Anna, did you see that? Yeah.
I'd be a little angry too.
Yeah.
I think they're making it up.
Well, now it's like a family routine. Like every night when we're going down Dobie's Bridge, we're all looking for this stinking chupacabra.
Don't let Coco out.
I know. My cat's not safe. She's not allowed to go outside.
Hide your cats, hide your dogs.
Yeah. But we have an exciting show today.
Yes, not as exciting as a chupacabra though.
No, that's pretty big, right? Aren't
That
you
is
glad I
pretty
brought
big.
it up?
Maybe our guest Matt Griffin has seen said chupacabra.
Yes. We can ask him.
Good.
He's a Baxterite. I don't know that anybody in Baxter has seen.
Is that what they call those? Baxterites?
Yeah.
I guess that would make sense.
Yeah.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he lives over there. So he may not have
Maybe
seen.
not. Probably not.
Because I think it's the Dobie's Bridge thing.
If I was a chupacabra, I wouldn't go into Baxter.
No.
There's too many people.
There's not enough. There's no goats over there.
No.
Well, of course, I don't think we have any goats over here either. But
There's
there's
more
still.
likely to be goats off Dobie's Bridge than there is in Baxter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. But yes, we met with Matt last week. So this has
Yes.
been recorded previously.
Yes.
And I don't know if you noticed, but we sound fabulous.
We sound
Because we have, what do we have, Emily?
We've got fantastic new microphones.
We have Mac Daddy microphones.
So,
yeah, we're pretty sweet right now.
yeah.
But when you listen to our previous recording with Matt, you probably notice a difference.
Just letting you know.
Just a warning.
Right.
So let's get to it.
Let's. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me on, and I'm thrilled to be here. And thank you, Emily. Thank you, Tracy.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule.
Well, I try anything I can do to get out of the office. I'm always willing to do that. So,
Right. Well, we've known you for quite a while. People who are familiar with our magazine have been following you for quite a while. You've been contributing since the get-go, really. I mean, I think after maybe the second issue is when you came on and started contributing for us. So can you tell us a little bit about how that all started and how it is helping to educate people about your field?
Sure, absolutely. I had the idea. Frankly, I saw the first issue, and I loved it. And I thought to myself, most publications around here have some sort of a financial contributor, whether it's a local advisor, whether it's at a national level, and they sort of reuse some of the content. And I've always had a passion for writing, so my idea was, listen, this is a great publication. It's new to our area. I'm from Fort Mill originally, born and raised. So I sort of thought, well, this would be a good fit. So I've reached out, and then I've always had a second passion for educating people, whether it is explaining an existing investment to them, or whether it is talking about what's going on in the overall economy and putting it in layman's terms. Because I feel like most of the alternatives, whether it's a CNN or something like that, talks at a very high level. If someone doesn't have the knowledge, it's hard to follow. So I think it's been a great fit. I have a lot of fun doing it, and I'm just happy to be a part of y'all's magazine.
Thank you. Well, we appreciate having you, and we really enjoyed the last article. I think Emily and I both were like really in tune because we are movie buffs, and the whole analogy, with financial planning and likening it to, a summer blockbuster really made sense to us, because there are times when we read stuff and we're just kind of like, woo, that just went right over my head,
Right.
But that one was really great, like you said, layman terms, really educating without, like, my eyes glazing over.
Right. And that's one of the things I always try to do is I use a lot of analogies. Matter of fact, people that know me, they'll make fun. If I start to say, well, it's sort of like, and they'll say, uh-oh, here comes an analogy. And so I've always spoken in analogies because I feel like people relate to them and understand them.
Right.
And that movie one, I thought of it in the middle of an appointment once. I was explaining something to someone, and the analogy I used, I think, was a football analogy. And it was a lady. She was not a football fan. And so I said, well, ma'am, what do you like? And she said, well, I really love movies. And I thought, okay, well, I think I can make this work. And so, by the end of the explanation, she had very little investment knowledge, but it seemed to work really well for her. And I thought, well, maybe that's a one-time case. So I shared it with my assistant, Catherine, and I said, what do you think about this analogy? And she said, that makes perfect sense. You need to use that from now on. Yeah. Forget the other thing you use that with people. Right. And so it's worked really well, and I also love movies, so it works perfectly. Especially the rating system, it just lent itself well to the risk.
Oh, definitely.
If you want to go to a G-rated movie, which is very little risk, obviously we're going to make it through the movie, not a huge payoff, and then, of course, the rating steps up as there's more risk. So
right.
It was just perfect.
Oh, yeah. Totally made sense to me.
Well, good.
So you like movies, you like football, you got all that. How did you get into the finance business? You seem to have a lot of interest, so...
I got into the business, I was 17 years old. I was a senior in high school, really had very little idea of what I wanted to do when I grew up. However, my number one criteria for a job is I didn't want to be bored. Mm-hmm. That was my number one criteria. And I started to intern at a major Wall Street firm just in the summers when I was in high school, and figured out there was never a boring day. So whether it was, the market is doing such and such, and that created a big, emotional roller coaster, or whether it was, the guy I worked for had a client that was upset at him. No matter what it was never boring. So I got in that way, went to school throughout college, was an intern the entire time. When I got out, I basically went to the branch manager and said, listen, I've been here for 6 or 7 years. I'm not saying I know it all, not by any stretch, but I like to interview because I really love this profession, and I think it's interesting. And he went through the rigmarole of the average person we hire is 37 with 10 years of sales experience, and you're 21 fresh out of school. And my comeback was, well, but at the same time, I've already been cold calling for 8 years for this other person. So you can either hire someone that knows how to sell encyclopedias and teach them the whole financial business, or take somebody who has 7 years experience in this business and take the chance I can sell. That's how I got into it. So fresh out of college, went right into it. And I've been in it 18 years, if you count when I started as an intern.
Wow.
So it's been a while.
That's great.
So it's a lot of fun. I love it.
Right.
Anyway.
Back to the movie analogy. When I think about what you do, it always comes to mind the movie A Good Year with Russell Crowe, which I know that's more like dealing with a stockbroker.
Mm-hmm.
But you've seen that movie, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I have.
In the setting, like in the beginning, he's like, good morning, lab rats, and all that stuff, and they're doing all this stuff, and they're on the phone, and everybody's like doing these motions with their hands and stuff. Like, is that anything like reality for you?
Not right now. It did. The whole industry used to be like that not that long ago. I would say maybe 8 to 10 years ago, the industry was very similar to what you're talking about, where it was high-pressure sales. We would teach you how to sell. We're not going to teach you how to manage money. Forget that. We're going to teach you how to sell. And it was we're all in a room and we all have our own phones, and you're sitting there cold calling or calling clients, and they're screaming and hollering. And in fact, they would encourage that because you, as the client on the other end of the phone, if you hear all this activity in the background, it sort of, creates that endorphin experience. You're excited. Hey, what's everyone talking about in the background?
Right.
Should I hear about this?
Right.
So it did used to be that way, and now most of us have figured out that, we do want to do the right thing for clients. Mm-hmm. Back then, 10, 15 years ago, it was, not in my case, but it was, let me do the right thing for me. Yeah, let me do the right thing for me. If it works out for them, great.
Right.
But now it's more of an advisory experience where you're saying, hey, I'm going to try to do the best thing for the client. So that sort of slowed way down. Mm-hmm. Now it's more of a fee-based relationship for most of us, where it's not if you do 10 or 12 stock trades, you're a bigger client than somebody who only does one stock trade. Not necessarily, not anymore.
Okay.
So business has changed quite a bit.
Right. Well, it sure makes, for exciting movie viewing experience when they're doing all that stuff. Right?
Yes, ma'am, it sure does.
We'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, India Hook Dental Care. They are located at 1144 India Hook Road, Suite E as in Edward, in Rock Hill. Their phone number is 803-324-7640. And now back to the podcast.
Okay, now we have our own blog, which we just started, and it's being very successful, thanks to your contribution, I must add. And you have had your own blog called Wall Street Steward for how long now?
Coming up on about 2 years.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Okay. So tell us a little bit about how that started, and how does that really help you in your industry to blog?
Okay, excellent. It started when people ask me, what do you do? I got really tired of hearing other people give an elevator pitch, if you will. I'm my client's personal CFO, or, something just not the way real people talk.
Right.
And so I started to tell people, when they said, what do you do? I would say, I try to be a good steward of other people's money. Whether the money is with me or not with me. Whether the money could ever be with me. Whether or not it's going to pay me on these assets, or whether it's a client asking about refinancing a car. No matter what it is, I try to be a good steward, which to me meant giving the best advice I could give in a non-biased way, and just be totally honest and act as if they were my family. Well, the more I used that phrase, I thought, I could start a blog, and I have a friend of mine, Illinois, that started a blog, and I learned a lot from him, and essentially my point was I'd like to recreate what you're doing, but in the Carolinas. Right. That's really my target. And I knew going in that it would be sort of polarizing. People would either love the writing or they wouldn't be able to stand it, because I sort of have a sarcastic sense of humor, and I sort of write that way too. Mm-hmm. So some people, if they want very business-oriented and very by the book, well, they can go to CBS.com and get that.
Right.
I wanted mine to have some humor in it, but also be educational. And I came up with the title just from saying so many times I try to be a good steward of other people's money. Mm-hmm. It's taught me a lot about blogging, because I couldn't have told you what SEO was a year ago. I didn't know what that was.
Right.
It's also helped, from my client standpoint, has helped if I'm unavailable or I'm out of town, they can go there and see, well, he just wrote this 2 days ago. This is what he thinks about such and such. So it's almost become a business card. If someone says now, do you have a card? If I don't have one, I'll say, just try to remember this website. My phone number's on there, my website, Facebook, however you want to get me. I'll communicate with you however you're comfortable. But that's sort of the go-to spot now. Right. So it's been a blast.
And I think that there's definitely a good way to go about educating people. Like, I have read blogs, and it just seems like it's an infomercial.
Right.
Like, they're constantly plugging their services and that sort of thing. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about reading your blog, is it's not Matt's commercial.
No.
It really is talking in that layman's terms, like the blog that you shared with us about the lottery. Mm-hmm. Like, at first, I was like, okay, he's going to tell us not to play the lottery, right? No. And it was totally like, this is what I would do as an expert in financial planning. This is what I would do with the winnings. And I loved it. I thought, he's going to talk about all these numbers and I'm going to get lost. But I read the whole thing because I was like, this is so cool.
Right. That actually arose. We used to have a game at my prior firm. And after lunch, 10 or 12 of us would sit around and we would say, okay, if we won the lottery and you had $100 million, if it was you, exactly what would you do? And you ask the average person that, and there's actually a lot of potholes you can step in.
Yeah.
You know, I'd pay off my mother's mortgage. Well, if you do that, you have a big gift tax. I have tax for giving her money? Yes. I mean, there are actually potholes. So I decided to write that and just sort of tell people, hey, look, if it were me, you know, and I'm not against playing the lottery. I mean,
Right.
you know, if it were me, what would I do with the money? And it was a lot of fun to write. And then it got me thinking, wow, I wish I would really win the lottery because I'd like to set some of this stuff up.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, to me, I've always said we will get the clients we're supposed to get, and we won't get the ones we're not supposed to get.
Right.
And so I feel like whether it's on the blog or whether it's a speaking engagement or an email, if someone has the need and we have a personality mesh, then clearly I'd love to help them. But not everybody's supposed to be my client. Just like not everybody's supposed to attend the local church or whatever.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I can't add value for them.
Right.
Just because they can't be. So I'm very almost anti-commercial. I'll almost just say, listen, I'll try to help you, but you're also doing well where you are. So if you want to, you know, there are seats available on the bus if you'd like to join, but you know, I'm not going to sit there and, you know, force you on the bus.
Right.
So yeah, I agree. But that was a fun blog to write.
I really enjoyed it.
There are so many things going on in the stock market right now that might scare a lot of clients. What are you advising them to do at the moment?
Well, the first thing is all advice has to be viewed through the periscope of how much or how little risk is someone willing to take. And if I've done my job correctly, I know that going in. Okay, this person wants to be very conservative or they're more moderate, etc. As long as I profile risk correctly, very, very few times do people actually get scared, no matter what's going on, because the risk has been disclosed to them up front, and I've tested it and tested it and tested it. That's a long beginning to an answer, but essentially, if I've done my job and profiled risk correctly, and we're very diversified, then essentially about 90% of the time, there's very little changes that have to take place. Right now, the big talk is, you know, what's going to go on with the election, what's going to go on with this fiscal cliff. You know, I think it's funny they come up with these cool names, you know, fiscal cliff. But essentially right now I'm educating people on, okay, the reason we're invested how we are is because of these things. So I've already taken these into account and your money is exactly where I want it right now. And their job as the investor is to tell me if that risk profile ever changes, because that does change. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe someone starts out being aggressive and then they get nervous and they call me and say, hey, I want to slow the car down from 80 to about 40. No problem. I know exactly what to do to slow the car down, but you just need to tell me if you want to speed up or slow down. If we've done that correctly, I mean, it's not really difficult to navigate through the tough markets. Now, when I first got in the business and I had no idea what I was doing, it was real difficult. But now, you know, it doesn't scare me anymore. It scares the average person. It doesn't scare me because I've lived through it 3 times, you know,
Right.
Big pullbacks. So right now, we're not out of the woods as a country, clearly. But at the same time, I think it's actually, you know, pretty opportune time to buy right now, if you ask me, longer term. Mm-hmm. So if you're diversified and I've looked at the risk, then I think we're fine.
What is this fiscal cliff thing that you mentioned? I've never heard that.
It's a buzzword right now that a lot of the media is using. In layman's terms, Congress is very good at doing nothing, right? They love to sit around and fight and hate each other, especially in an election year. So we know they're good at doing nothing.
Something, anyway.
Right, exactly. Right now, if they do nothing between now and the end of the year, at the end of this year, several economic things are set to happen. The first thing is the Bush tax cuts will expire, which essentially will act as a tax increase on everyone. And that's middle class, you know, everywhere from the poverty level to very affluent. Everybody will get a boost in taxes. So that's the first thing. The second thing is people's unemployment benefits run out. The third thing is, remember when they were arguing about the debt ceiling last summer?
Right.
Well, they haven't found enough cuts. Well, that means those automatic cuts are going to kick in, which is mainly defense. So you add all of these together, the increase in taxes, people's unemployment running out, the payroll tax expiring, which is part of that, and then also, you know, you add that in with some of these other things, it's creating almost a perfect storm for bad stock market, bad economy. It's called the fiscal cliff. Mm-hmm. Well, the estimates I've seen are saying if they do nothing, it'll be a minus 5% GDP, just that. Well, GDP is basically our growth rate as an economy, layman's terms. So we're about 3. So that would push us from positive 3 to minus 2. It would cause a recession. Just them not doing anything will cause a recession.
Right.
So that's the biggest fear right now. I don't think it'll come to that because I think even congressmen, when they want to do nothing, they see that that's a huge risk. I don't think they're going to allow it to happen. But that's the biggest risk we face right now. And it's called the fiscal cliff.
I thought we were already in a recession.
No. A lot of people think that. It feels like a recession.
Right? Since like 2007, 2008, something like that.
Right. We had one that basically lasted 2008 through about the first quarter of 2009. The technical definition of a recession, try not to get too technical, but 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. In other words, instead of the economy growing, it contracts. Well, we actually have slow growth right now. We don't have a contracting economy. So we're technically not in a recession. Now, we have 8% unemployment, which stinks.
Right.
And we have, other issues, a lot of debt. So it feels like a recession, but technically we're not in one yet. If Congress does nothing between now and the end of the year, we will be in one just by them doing nothing.
Right.
So you think about it, they only work about 3 days in December anyway. They get out for Christmas early. So between Thanksgiving and when they leave for Christmas break, they have to get a lot done in that 8-day period. So anyway, that's probably the biggest risk we face right now.
Interesting.
So you have your blog, but how else can people contact you as far as if they wanted advice from you?
One of the things I try to do is to be available however the individual person chooses to communicate. In other words, a lot of clients are old-fashioned. They want face-to-face or they want telephone. Clearly we have that. The risk of giving out my number, I'd rather not do that, but we have the old-fashioned way. However, if someone also wants to get on and watch a blog at 1 a.m. sitting in their bed before bed, they can get me that way.
And what's that URL?
It's wallstreetsteward.com. I would use that, in my opinion, as sort of the home base about how to get me. Phone numbers on there, emails on there. If you like Facebook and Twitter, those links are on there. So I try to say, however you want to communicate, your favorite medium of communication, I'm there. And I'll work with you in that way. I'm not going to dictate to people, hey, I only use telephone and, maybe you're more comfortable on Facebook.
Right.
So I'm really available sort of 24/7 because it goes right to my smartphone.
There are quite a few people who, even in this day and age, don't compute.
Right.
They don't get on the internet. They don't email.
Right.
They're still very old school, and that's okay.
That's right.
Do you still have quite a few people that are like that?
I do. I would say probably about a third of my clients are like that.
Really?
Usually that demographic you're talking about is retiree or even older, in their mid to late 70s. And I have a lot of people who are very hesitant to have anything online. They're nervous about ID theft and things like that.
Right.
So I do have a large segment of people who prefer face-to-face or telephone, and that's not a problem. 95 times out of 100 when you call our number, there'll be a person answering the phone, not a machine. And those old-fashioned folks want that. They don't want push 1 for this and star 3 for that. They want a person.
Right.
So it's normally my assistant because I'm usually on the phone with somebody else, but there is a person there. So yes, ma'am, we have tons of clients that
And so if we
that.
have a listener who would rather, have that face-to-face, they can just go to Family Trust in Fort Mill.
They can.
Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's the new branch.
That's exactly right.
So that's wonderful. And we'll make sure that we have your blog and your contact information on our website that will run along with the podcast so they'll be able to find your information quickly.
Excellent.
But we definitely appreciate you coming in and educating us on what you do. And we look forward to having many more blog entries from you.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to it.
And, of course, articles in the print issue. And we definitely want to follow up with you later this year to see how things are going.
Excellent. I'd love to be back.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Well, once again, we want to thank you for joining us in today's podcast, and we especially want to thank our sponsor today, which is India Hook Dental Care. And again, they are located at 1144 India Hook Road, Suite E, and that's in Rock Hill, and their phone number is 803-324-7640.
And that's our podcast.
That's it. So be sure and follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and our call sign is Fort Mill Mag.
Yes, and go to the website, fortmillmagazine.com or fortmillmag.com.
That's right, and follow our blog, and be sure to keep on listening to our podcast.
Yeah, and we'll see you next week.